Hello, I'm Elaine Smith, the Artistic Director of the Clamour Theater Company. We're holding these creative conversations with playwrights, with actors, with directors, so that you can find out more about Clamour Theater and about the artists who work with us. Welcome to this edition of a Clamour Creative Conversation. Today, we are talking with Connie Schindewolf, a playwright who was with us for Clay and Water 2019, our very first annual Playwrights retreat. Welcome, Connie. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be here. Thank you for asking.
It's great to have you. So why don't you tell us all a little bit about yourself, your bio, whatever you'd like us to know, but don't forget the turtles.
Okay. Everybody wants to know about the turtles. I'm wearing a turtle necklace, so it might be. I'll save that for the end of this question. But anyway, I grew up in the Midwest, and I ended up in the St. Louis area where I taught high school theater for 25 years. And so I was one of those directors in high school that started off without all the traditional plays. You got Our Town and You Can't Take It With You and Harvey, and you can only do those so many times. So I would read hundreds and hundreds of plays and full lengths, one acts, 10-minute, looking for new material that I would like for high school. And I found in doing that a lot of it was just junk out there that was published. And I kept thinking, wow, I could write better than that. And I knew that I could, but I just never had the time because a theater teacher, director, you come home late at night and you just don't have any time to write. So that was my excuse for then anyway. And then we myself and this other teacher got this Playwrights in Residence program going in our high school, where we had a professional playwright come in and work with the students for a period of 2 to 3 weeks. And we had this for several years and taught the kids a lot about playwriting. And then they would write their own plays and we'd perform them and everything. And it was really, really a successful playwright. And that even convinced me more that I could do it and that I wanted to do it. And it was one of the reasons I took an early retirement. So I only taught for 25 years, took an early retirement. We moved down here to Florida. And I was very happy that we moved in the Sarasota, Bradenton area with a big theater scene, especially in Sarasota. And I started writing. And I had my first production of a 10-minute play in 2007, I believe. I had this bucket list. My first on my bucket list was to finish a play, which I did, a 10-minute, to have a play produced, which I did, a 10-minute, and then to write a full-length play, which I did, and then to have a full-length play produced, which I finally did. And now my bucket list includes have a full-length play produced at a regional theater, because most of my work has been in community theater. And I have not had that yet, but I've come close. This year I was in the top 20 of American stage in St. Petersburg for a play. And right now I'm being considered at Florida Studio Theater. At least I think that, because they asked for the full script. They start out just 10 pages and they asked for the full script. So I'm hopeful on that account. Not that maybe it'll happen this year, but that's on my bucket list. I also, in regards to what I do now, is I help lead a 78-member playwrights group in Sarasota. And we read plays. We meet twice a month and we read plays and give a talk back. And so that's my progress right now. I write something, I have my playwrights group read it, and then I send my work off. And we do the playwrights group, the SAPS group, Sarasota Area Playwrights. We used to do it just October through May, when all of our people were here and nobody left for the winter. But now, since we have Zoom, we've continued it through the summer. And it's really been good for a lot of the older playwrights that have trouble driving at night and everything. And I think we're probably going to continue it, even if we go back to a brick and mortar building. I think we're going to continue an aspect of our playwrights group on Zoom because so many people have really, really found it to be beneficial. Um, so my hobby, which you brought up, is working with sea turtles. So on mid-April through the end of October, I work down on the beach saving sea turtles. So I'm one of those crazy people that gets up way before dawn and goes down to the beach and looks for nests and digs turtle nests and um, all that kind of work, which is really fun and also one of the main reasons I wanted to move down here. So that's enough about me.
Okay. Well, first of all, I love the turtle story, although it's hard for a theater person to get up that early. But also, I agree with you about the benefits of Zoom. I fully intend for Clamour to continue to not solely, but to have a virtual component, just because it does make it easier for people who don't like to drive at night, and also it opens up your casting pool. So it's had benefits in spite of how difficult a year it's been. So tell us about the play that you brought to Clay and Water, Bloodlines. A little bit about the play, and tell me if has anything happened with it since then.
Okay, I brought a play called Bloodlines. It's a full-length play, and it's about a couple who have almost given up on their efforts to adopt a baby when they decide to advertise online. And they quickly end up with an infant in their home, and everything seems to go perfectly until it doesn't, until a long lost relative shows up, the baby starts to get sick, and all kinds of things start to happen. And turns out with a happy ending, but the baby gets well. And one of the reasons I wrote this is my husband and I adopted a baby in 1990, and we had everything go absolutely perfectly. And having the writer's mind that I do, I often get my stories by thinking, what if? I read an article in the newspaper or think of something in my own life and think of, what if things hadn't gone that way? So in my mind, I had already thought, before I started writing the play, I had already thought of a lot of scenarios. If it hadn't gone well, what if? And so this is how I got my idea for the story. And since it was at Clay and Water, that was in January, then I applied for a play reading festival. I guess I applied in May and it was accepted. And so I had a play reading in July, and I got lots more comments, critiques, and I've rewritten it a little bit. So it has gotten another reading, but it hasn't gotten a production yet. But I continue to send it out, and I continue to be hopeful.
Yeah, no, it's a good script. Continue to send it out and be hopeful, because it'll get there. Do you remember how you found out about Clay and Water and why you decided to apply?
Oh, yes. I, as well as you are a member of a very large group called the Playwrights Marketing Binge, where it's a group of playwrights. I think there's 1,200 of us, and we commit to 2 times a year of sending out scripts. So you send out one a day. And so I figure the first time I did it, I figured, well, that's 60 a year. So I started that, and I saw an advertisement to apply for the retreat on the Playwrights Binge, and so that's how I saw it, and I was very happy that I accepted.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you next, was did you feel that it was worth it? What was fun about it? What was good about it?
Okay, I thought it was extremely valuable and extremely fun, and one of the main reasons is because you had organized it so well. And I don't mean that it was over organized by any means, because it wasn't. But you had everything down to, who you picked up whom from the airport when, and we were all housed together in a bed and breakfast. And it was, the talk back was well organized, and you had cast it perfectly. Um, so that was valuable, and the talk back was valuable. But what I felt was most valuable and fun was the camaraderie I developed with the playwrights that I stayed with in the bed and breakfast. Now, there was one playwright, Danielle, who didn't join us at the bed and breakfast because she was local. And we felt bad sometimes that you and she were not part of our late night conversations, because after we would come home after the play reading, we would again talk about the plays, and then our discussion would lead to, in general, things about playwriting. And that's when it was a relief for me to be housed with playwrights for a week and discover that we all share a lot of the same joys, tribulations, frustrations with trying to be a playwright and to try to do it well and to try to do it professionally. So, and I've made friends with all these people. I still have contact with these people. And that was the most fun, most rewarding part of the retreat. And it was also, and you, I know you organized it this way. It was not so set in stone as to what we had to do when. You even gave us the option of not having to attend the other play readings. None of us even considered that because we get to know each other the first day. Of course, we wanted to go to each other's plays. And you also encouraged us to patronize stores in the town with gift cards. And so, of course, we did. And it was really fun getting to walk around the town and get to know the people in this lovely community. And that was fun. But it was wonderful to have some free time to either write, gather our thoughts about writing, or really whatever we wanted to do. And I was fortunate that my play was first on a Monday night. So I had all this free time to think. I didn't do so much actual sit down on my computer changing that week, but I had all this time to organize my thoughts as to how I was going to do that after the talk back. And so that's where I spend, I would say 90% of my playwriting time is really mental, organizing my thoughts. And when you're at home and you have all this stuff to do and you have laundry to do, you can't organize your thoughts as well as when we had that free time on the
Yeah.
retreat. And so I was able to do that because my mental work for a play takes a long time. So I was really appreciate we have that. And I thought the whole thing was valuable and fun.
Good. Yeah, that was the disappointment in our third one because, of course, it was during the pandemic year. So we made it entirely virtual. And I think that was, in many ways, it went fine. And we had a little more diversity in our actors and our playwrights than we would have been able to do if we had done it in person. But I do think everybody missed the opportunity to really, just chat over lunch or whatever, but there's a trade-off and everybody stayed safe, so that's good. So tell me, have you got a favorite play of your own, whether it's been produced or not, and if so, what is it?
I do. I have a full-length play called Mammoth Bones, and it has been accepted for readings, and it has had one production, and it is my favorite play. It took me the longest to write it. I told you about how 90% is my brain working out things before I actually start writing. And so I'd say I'd spent 10 years on this play before it was finished. Um, and I live in a subdivision, and they broke ground on it in 2005. And when they broke ground, they found mammoth bones. And it was really kind of exciting, but they really only stopped the excavation for like 2 days. Up north, they would have stopped for months if they ever started again. And they gave a bone to the grade school down the street that's in a glass case, and they gave a couple of bones to the museum in Bradenton, and then they just went back to work. And when we moved into our place after it was built, it occurred to me there's probably mammoth bones under my house. I mean, there were only a couple bones they found. So, there's the least complete mammoth. And where there was one mammoth, there was probably a herd. So one night I had this dream that I heard mammoths, the sound of them. And so I thought that's got to be in a play. So then I created in my mind this character who is kind of a mammoth himself in the fact that he's going extinct because he's an auto mechanic who can't work on cars anymore because his daughter went up to college and he became Mr. Mom. So when he tries to go back to work, he doesn't know any of the electronic stuff. And he tries to take the new classes, but he can't handle it. He goes into a complete state of depression. And so my play revolves around Robert, who in his state of depression in this house starts to hear the mammoths. And so it evolves around that. And you're trying to figure out, is it his mental illness? Is he hallucinating? Is it his medication? And so my play goes through that scenario of Robert's journey through hearing these mammoth bones. So it's my favorite play, maybe because I've spent the most time on it. And in a way, it had that personal connection.
Okay, so Mammoth Bones, is it available on NPX?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
It is.
Good. I will, when I get a minute, if I get a minute, I will take a look. So say that again.
I said it's a full length, but it's a fairly short full length.
Okay, good. Good. So now that's your favorite play of yours. What about 3 favorite plays by other writers? Tell me what they are and what you like about them.
Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit in my theater history. So when I was in college, I would have to say my favorite play was Streetcar Named Desire. We studied a lot about Tennessee Williams, and one of our main stage productions, I was even cast as Stella in Streetcar Named Desire. So a lot of study went into this play, and I really like Tennessee Williams' poetic language that he uses. I love that he spent so much time characterizing these women. And it's actually about a lot of common topics today. I mean, emotional abuse, domestic abuse, mental illness. So I still like it today, and I go see it whenever I have the opportunity. But I'd say when I was in college, that was my favorite. Then when I was directing plays and everything, and when I was, I'd say in the 80s, my favorite play was Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley. And I never chose this to direct. It was a little too mature for high school audiences. But I just think she was a brave female playwright at the time to have a play mostly about women characters. There was mental illness in it. There was domestic violence in it. And I really, really liked that play. And I saw it produced a couple of times. More recently, I would say 3 or 4 years ago, locally, I saw a play at a theater, Urbanite Theater in Sarasota, who really does edgy work. I saw a play by Lauren Yee is her name, and it's called In a Word. Very contemporary, very edgy. And it's about a woman dealing with grief of the loss of her child. And it's not linear, but throughout the play, through all these little scenes, we start to discover what's going on in her mind about it, what she thinks, but then really what happened. And I think there's only she and another male character, but the other male character plays her son, plays her husband, plays her postman, plays the detective that investigated, all of those characters. And it just really, really struck me as being a contemporary edgy play that I liked, because a lot of them I haven't really gotten into. I think that's 3.
Yeah.
But I have to mention that I was never a musical person at all. I didn't direct musicals. I'm kind of tone deaf. I would see them when I had to. But if I had to say my favorite musical right now, it would have to be Hamilton. I've never seen it live, but I'm one of those last summer that bought Disney Plus for a month and watched it on my little 12 screen laptop. I just was amazed. You would, before that, you would have never convinced me that I would have loved a musical on my laptop, especially that's hip hop, rap, no regular spoken word. I just thought it was phenomenally done. The language, the choreography, everything about it, that I just thought it was absolutely mesmerizing. And you
Yeah,
couldn't have convinced me that I would say that
I
years
know. It's an amazing piece of work. It really
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
So good. So for our viewers, if you would like to read plays by Connie Schindewolf, you can find them on the New Play Exchange website at newplayexchange.org. For Clamour Theater Company news and events, check out our website at clamourtheater.org or follow us on Facebook as Clamour Theater Company. We will post all those URLs in the description below. And if you'd like to see more interviews like this one, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Connie, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today and letting our audience get to know something about you. We look forward to following your playwriting journey, and we're really glad you are part of the Clamour community.
You're welcome. And thank you for asking me. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you.